Love all the chatter. It's so fun to watch you all catching up with each other. It's been a long time, right, since we've gotten to really get to be together. I think most of you know who I am, Pastor Lisa. And if you don't, you're probably better off for it, but that's okay. um, so I want to welcome you. We have some wonderful speakers this morning. We have some wonderful activities. And I hope you just take the time today to really just relax and pour into you. Don't worry about everybody else. Don't worry about the stuff at home that's still going to be there. Sorry, when you get back. So just take a deep breath for a second. Breathe in. Father God, we thank you so much that we get to gather here together, that we get to be one another's support system, that we get to lift each other up, that we get to straighten each other's crowns. Lord, help us to be fully present today, however that looks for each of us. We praise you and we thank you for your unending love. Amen. So our first victim is the lovely Miss Janice Brim. She's going to share with us a little icebreaker activity. Can you tell them a little about you? She's amazing. She's an incredible photographer. She does a lot of our slides and all that kind of stuff. She has to put up with Michael on a regular basis. So, give her an extra hug when you get a minute. Am I getting the look yet? But go, girl.
Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. This is the day he has made. We will rejoice and be glad in it. And we're happy to be here as women, away from our men for the day, away from our children from the day and all the cares, and just have an opportunity to bond and fellowship. And I feel so blessed and privileged to be here. And thank you, Pastor Lisa, for asking me to be here. Let's give Pastor Lisa a hand for thinking about this during the COVID time. And let's give God a hand. Let's give him an even bigger hand for us being here together. Pastor Lisa asked me to share a little about myself. I don't talk about myself much. If you notice, I like to be in the background. That's just the nature of who I am. But I am Janice. I am a teacher by profession. I have been teaching for over 30 years. I have taught high school for 23 years, middle school for 3 years, and I currently work with Broward County Public Schools in the district department as a staff developer for library media. And I do love photography. It is my passion. When I retire, I hope to travel the world and take just beautiful pictures of everything that I can get my hands on. So that's my passion. And I'm happy to be married to the lovely young man over there, my heartbeat, my soul, my traveling partner, my best friend, my confidant. He is everything, and I truly love him, and I know he truly loves me as well. So I am blessed in more ways than I can say. So today I'm going to ask you to step out of your comfort area for just a little bit. I would like for us, and I know it might be a little bit challenging, but we're going to work together and make this work. I want us to do a conga line introduction. Okay? So we're going to figure out how to make it work. We may come around and curve around, and those of us, if you're not able to move, that's fine. We're going to get somebody to you when we pause. But I would like us to get up, and we're going to push our chairs in so we have space, and we're going to use the outside area if possible. I might pull this a little bit forward just so we can pass behind. And our DJ over here, he's going to start the music when I give him the thought, and then when we stop, we're going to look at the person directly in front of us, and hopefully it's going to work right each time. And we're going to introduce ourselves. I know they can read our badge, but we'll tell them our names and then respond to whatever question that I prompt you with, okay? Okay, yeah. I know you thought you were going to be able to say anything, right? Okay. But we're going to respond to a particular question. So we're going to come on the outside. If we can come on the outside, get away from your tables, come on the outside. And by the way, let me say this real quickly. There's a rumor that all black people can dance. I have no rhythm whatsoever. And I say that to say you don't have to feel like you have to have rhythm to move, because I am the most rhythmless Micah can tell you I was all over his toes on our wedding night dance. So you can feel comfortable, just move and have fun in the Lord as you listen to the music. It may encourage you as you hear it. Okay, I think we're ready. Good, awesome. I like the way we are looking. And Mr. DJ, give us Glorious. And we're gonna go that way. We're gonna go that way. Come on, let's move it. Give us a little bit more volume, please. Some of us can move on this side to the person directly in front of you. Come on. And if you don't have someone directly, find someone. Find someone. All right. And this is a question I would like for you to share on. 1 minute, 1 minute. I see you've already started introducing yourself. Awesome. This is a question. If you could choose only one vacation destination, where would you pick and why? One. Talk to each other. I hope you found out something about your new friend that you just made. So when you see them Sunday, you now know their name and a little about them, okay? We're going to get moving again. We're going to take some shackles off our feet because we just want to dance. All right, let's get back in our line and we're going to keep moving. Mary, Mary. if you were on a desert island, what 3 items would you want to have with you? Find your next partner. There should be enough for everybody. All righty. We're going to keep moving. And we're going to listen to Overcomer. Are we all overcomers, ladies? Amen.
Staring at a stop sign, watching people drive by, T-Mac on the radio. Got so much on your mind, nothing's really going right. Looking for a ray of hope. Whatever it is you may be going through, I know it's not gonna let it get the best of you. You're an overcomer. Stay in the fight till the final round. You're not going back. 'Cause God is holding you right now. You might be down before knowing, feeling like it's hopeless. That's when He reminds you that you're an overcomer.
All right, and this is going to be the last one because I know we have more exciting things planned. But this is the last one. We just walked around to we are overcomer. So I want you to share a moment when you experience God's blessing and favor in your life with someone. Someone might just need to be encouraged this morning. Share a moment when you experience God's blessing or favor in your life, something good that happened to you, all right? Find your partners and share. are going back to your seat. We're going to listen to Stomp as you return. And I hope the connections you made today, I hope that you will keep those connections going throughout the day. And when we come to church tomorrow, that you will see somebody and now you've connected to them a little bit differently than before.
You think we've gotten too radical with our message? Well, I got news for you. You ain't heard nothing yet. And if you don't know, now you know. Glory, glory!
Thank you all so much for your participation. I hope you had fun and you enjoyed this little activity.
To get wowed by the ladies of the worship team who volunteered their time this morning so that we could sing along a little bit and relax even more. Yay!
Good morning, good morning. I know you've all just gotten nice and comfy. However, it's kind of hard to praise God. We lost Carrie. Carrie!
Just getting her microphone.
It's hard to praise God, so if you are able, stand and join us. If you're not familiar with the songs, I'm pretty sure you'll catch on fairly quickly. And the one I have to share, we're going to do Holy Spirit as the final song. Every time I hear that song, I think of Pastor Barb. So all of you that know Pastor Barb, she moved to Pennsylvania. So wish her well in Pennsylvania. So anyway, thank you, Mr. Michael, for coming to play. Thank you, JD, for making us sound good. Yeah! Who am I that you are mindful of me, that you hear me when I call? Is it true that you are thinking of me, how you love me? It's amazing. Am I that you are mindful of me, that you hear me when I call? Is it true that you are thinking of me, how you love me? It's amazing.
I'm a friend.
I am a friend of God. I am a friend of God. I am a friend of God. He calls me friend.
I am a friend of God.
I am a friend of God. I am a friend of God. I am a friend of God. He calls me friend.
Who am I?
Who am I that you are mindful of me, that you hear me when I call? Is it true that you are thinking of me, how you love me? It's amazing. It's amazing.
It's amazing.
It's amazing.
I'm a friend.
I am a friend of God. I am a friend of God. I am a friend of God. He calls me friend.
I am a friend.
I am a friend
I seriously don't remember the key.
Oh, that's okay, find one. I'll hold on.
My Jesus.
My Jesus, my Savior, Lord, there is none like you. All of my days, I want to praise the wonders of your mighty love. My comfort, my shelter, tower of refuge and strength. Let every breath, all that I am, never cease to worship you.
Shout to the Lord.
Shout to the Lord, all the earth, let us sing. Power and majesty, praise to the King. Mountains bow down and the seas will roar at the sound of your name. I sing for joy at the work of your hands. Forever I'll love you, forever I'll stand. Nothing compares to the promise I have in you.
Shout to the Lord one more time. Shout to the Lord.
Shout to the Lord, all the earth, let us sing. Power and majesty, praise to the King. Mountains bow down and the seas will roar at the sound of your name. I sing for joy at the work of your hands. Forever I'll love you, forever I'll stand. Nothing compares to the promise.
Nothing compares. Nothing compares.
Nothing compares to the promise.
Nothing compares. Nothing compares.
Nothing compares to the promise I have in you. Amen, amen. It's a marvelous way to pray to God is when you lift your voice and sing. Even if you can't think you can't sing, you can, and God hears you and God knows that your heart is pure.
There's nothing.
There's nothing worth more that can ever come close. No thing can compare. Your
Let us become more aware of your presence. Let us experience the glory of your goodness. Let us become more aware of your presence. Let us experience the glory of your goodness. Holy Spirit, Holy Spirit, you are welcome here. Come flood this place and fill the atmosphere. Your glory, God, is what our hearts long for, to be overcome by your presence, Lord.
Amen. You may be seated.
Amen, amen. What a fun way to start our day. Janice, you're amazing. Ladies, awesome as usual. Michael, you're okay. He's going to get me later. I'm going to have a solo that's so high I won't be able to sing it on Sunday, you'll know. And you'll know exactly what happened. So we're running a little ahead, which is good because Ann only gave me 20 minutes and I want at least 30, so this is good. I get to do the Bible study part, but before I get started, I want to tell you, you're all grown-ups. I don't know if you know that. You're all grown-ups. So if you need to step out and get a drink of water or use the ladies' room or get a snack, we have snacks out on the table. The lovely Maria, where is she? Maria brought us snacks, little muffins and little donut holes, and Amy brought us some healthy treats, some walnuts and cranberries. And Anne made sure we had bars and crackers and all. So there's a nice variety. So help yourself. I'm super excited to be here. And I'm most excited because we're going to dig into the book of Ruth. You might want to read along. You might want to have your phones handy because we're going to do a little activity as part of our Bible study. So Ruth is only 4 chapters long. So I'm literally going to read most of it to you, but I have some little asides. My background is Irish, and so you got to fill up life with blarney and storytelling. It's one of those rules. So Ruth is one of those books that storytellers preserved. And when we think storytellers, we don't really realize what that means. So storytellers would have memorized this and told it and told it and told it until it had a chance to be written somewhere between 1000 and 500 BC. And so when we think of that, like we think of the game of telephone, and I'm really bad at this game. So if I tell you something, you tell the next person, right? And by the end, it's completely distorted. It's not at all like that. They were very deliberate about making sure to set this down because it mattered. It's God's word, and it mattered. One of the commentaries I read said that they believed that it was women storytellers. And how cool does that make that? So not only we see pictures of women in the Bible, but we don't see a whole book. And we don't see a whole book from a woman's perspective, right? This is written from the perspective of these 2 widows who are trying to deal with life together. So it really shows us how much women matter to God. And these are not like the Proverbs 31 woman, not to bash her in any way, shape, or form, but I will never be her. Not going to get there in this lifetime. These are real women. These are flawed women. These are women who have feelings, some good, some bad. They have their moments where they're a little ticky with each other, right? And it's set in the time of Judges. And that's important to know because this is a time where they're being oppressed. They are in their rebellious stage. And so they keep rebelling, and God brings a judge, and it goes fine for well, and then they rebel again, right? You remember that feeling. And they're suffering. They've been invaded, they've been dominated, they've been oppressed. And this is where that story is set. So we're going to get started. During the days when the judges ruled, there was a famine in the land. A man with his wife and 2 sons went from Bethlehem. I want you to make note that Bethlehem means house of bread. So there's no food in the house of bread. They went from Bethlehem of Judah to dwell in the territory of Moab. Moab is not a good place. You might remember the name Moab. Remember when Lot's daughters got him drunk and slept with him to carry on the family line? One of those sons is Moab. All right, so we're digging. The name of the man was Elimelech, and the name of his wife was Naomi. The names of his two sons were Mahlon and Chilion. They were Ephrathites from Bethlehem and Judah. All these words, right? They entered the territory of Moab and they settled there. So Moab is a place where they worship gods and literally still do human sacrifices. So this is way different from the people who are supposed to be following the God of Israel. And I want to share with you a little bit about the names. So Elimelech means my God is king. Good one, right? Naomi means pleasant or my joy or beautiful. He's wonderful. And you'll see later she changes her name, right? Mahlon, weakling or sickness. Chilion, perishing, sickly, or pining. So I want you to do something right now. Take out your phone, go to your search engine, and type your name and meaning, the word meaning. Wouldn't it be fun if we all came with warning labels? I mean, I don't know that I want my socially awkward procrastinator label on my shirt, right? So I looked up Lisa, and I'm going to pull it up right now so you know you can do it in this amount of time if I'm doing it, right? So mine is Oath of God. I like that. Oath of God. O-A-T-H. Not like a swear oath, like a good oath of God. So look up your name and then talk about it when you get a chance at your table. So both, I've totally distracted you. That's okay. I'm going to keep going. But Elimelech, Naomi's husband, dies. And she's left with her sons. They take wives for themselves. They take Moabite women. Orpah, everyone thinks it's Oprah. It's not. Orpah. And Ruth. So Orpah means obstinately stiff-necked. Ruth means faithful friend, or the act of seeing. Love that. So they take these wives. They live there for about 10 years. And both of the sons also die. So only the woman was left without her two children and without her husband. So some of you have been through the mourning grieving process. Picture not only losing your spouse, losing your children, even if they're adults, it's a miserable experience, right? And in this society, she would have lost everything because now she has no one to take care of her. She has no husband, she has no sons. This is a very patriarchal society. So she arises along with her daughters-in-law to return from the field because while in the territory of Moab, she heard that the Lord had paid attention to his people by providing food for them. So there's God in this one. He's only in this whole book twice. There he is once, right? She left the place where she had been with her two daughters-in-law, and they went with her. They went along a road to return to Judah. So they're taking action. They're not just sitting still waiting. Naomi says to her daughters-in-law, go back, each of you, to the household of your mother. Well, they've already left with her. What does she mean, go back? And she says, may the Lord deal faithfully with you, just as you have done with the dead and with me. May the Lord provide for you so that you might find security, each woman in the household of her husband. Then she kisses them, and they lift up their voices and they weep. But then they reply to her, no, instead we'll return with you to your people. So we don't know why. Was it a sense of loyalty to each other? Did they feel like they might have a better shot, getting what they need in Bethlehem than staying where they are? Are their families so dysfunctional they don't want to go back to their families? Some of us are going, right? So we don't really know why. So Naomi then says, turn back, my daughters. Why would you go with me? And here's where she gets funny. Will there again be sons in my womb that they can be husbands for you? Turn back, my daughters. Go, I'm too old for a husband. If I were to say that I have hope even if I had a husband tonight, and even more if I were to bear sons, would you wait until they grew up? Would you refrain from having a husband? No, my daughters. This is more bitter for me than you, since the Lord's will has come out against me. So you're starting to see her name is changing, right? She's not joyful anymore. Then they lift up their voices and weep again, and Orpah kisses her mother-in-law. In other words, she's saying, see ya. She kisses her goodbye, she turns around. Is she being obedient? Naomi has just said go. So Orpah often gets a bad rap, like she doesn't stick with her. But Naomi just told her to go. So is she being obedient? Is she being practical? Is she kind of relieved that Naomi's given her permission to not have to go on this journey? But Ruth stays with her. And Naomi says, look, your sister-in-law is returning to her people and to her gods. Turn back after your sister-in-law. But Ruth replied, don't urge me to abandon you, to turn back from following after you. And this is our key verse. Wherever you go, I will go. Wherever you stay, I will stay. Your people will be my people, and your God will be my God. Wherever you die, I will die. There I will be buried. May the Lord do this to me and more if death separates me from you. When Naomi saw that Ruth was determined to go, she stopped trying to convince her otherwise. She just stopped speaking about it. But look at the power that Naomi's faith has had. We often forget that piece. We value Ruth because Ruth is the faithful, loyal one who supports her mother-in-law. But we forget that there's a reason that she's supporting Naomi. That reason is she's seen Naomi's faith in action. Naomi's going back to the unknown because she heard from the Lord that there's something good to go back to, right? She knows the sovereign God of Israel. And Ruth had to have noticed. So both of them went along until they arrived at Bethlehem, and when they arrived, the whole town was excited on account of them. And the women of the town asked, can this be Naomi? So picture, she's bringing this Moab woman into town. These other women could have been really ugly. Like, how dare you? We know of families who had mixed racial marriages that didn't work because the families reject them, right? So this could have been really ugly. But look what happens with the women in this town. They're so excited. They rally around these women. And she replies to them, here we see the name change. Don't call me Naomi, but call me Mara. It means bitter, right? The Almighty has made me bitter. I went away full. In other words, she had everything. She had a husband, she had family, she had everything she needed. And the Lord has returned me empty. Why would you call me Naomi? Why would you call me joy? When the Lord has testified against me and the Almighty has deemed me guilty. Because that was what they thought, right? If you couldn't bear children or if something happened to you, it was some kind of a curse, right? And Naomi returned, and Ruth the Moabite, her daughter-in-law, returned with her from the territory of Moab, and they arrived in Bethlehem right at the beginning of the barley harvest. Again, God at work. So Naomi had a respected relative, a man of worth, through her husband from the family of Elimelech, and his name was Boaz. Boaz means strength is in him. Again, wouldn't it be nice if they had labels? Well, that guy is super cute, but look at his name. It says weakling. I'm out, right? So Ruth the Moabite said to Naomi, let me go out into the field that I might glean. So Ruth takes the initiative. She finds a way to get them food. And Naomi says to her, go. She's kind of growing in that connection with her. She calls her my daughter. So she goes and she arrives and she gleans in the field. And by chance, it happened to be the portion of the field that belongs to Boaz. Just when Boaz arrived from Bethlehem, he said to the harvesters, may the Lord be with you. So we see that he's a good, godly guy, right? And they say to him the greeting, may the Lord bless you. Gleaning, some of you may know this already, gleaning is a tradition. It's in Deuteronomy, it's in Leviticus, that when you harvest your field, you leave a little bit. And it's supposed to be there for the poor, for the widowed, and for the immigrants. Ruth is all three of those, right? Poor, widow, immigrant. So this is why they leave it for the field. And Boaz says to his young man, the one who's overseeing, who does this woman belong to? Because, of course, she must belong to somebody. It's a male-focused society, right? She would have been somebody's property, or husband's, or her father's. But no, nobody. The young man who's overseeing says she's a young Moabite woman which might have put Boaz off, but he goes further and he says, the one who returned with Naomi. And Naomi's reputation, again, as a faith-filled woman must have effect, because he doesn't shirk back from the Moabite woman. She said, please let me glean so that I might gather grain from among the bundles behind the harvesters. She arrived and she's been on her feet from the morning until now, and she's only sat down for a moment. This is somebody who's really got a lot of stamina and perseverance, right? She's admirable. Boaz goes up and talks to her. Have you understood, my daughter? Again, that my daughter. Don't go glean in another field. Don't go anywhere else. Instead, stay here with my young women. Keep your eyes on the field that they are harvesting and go along after them. I've ordered the young men not to assault you. So this is a real concern, that the young men in the fields would take advantage of the women who were, left behind by society. They were on the fringes, and so they could do with them what they wanted. So he says, I've ordered them not to assault you. Whenever you are thirsty, go to the jugs and drink from them. So she bows down and faces the ground and replies to him, how is it that I found favor in your eyes, that you noticed me, an immigrant? And he responds, everything you've done from your mother-in-law after her husband's death has been reported. So he knows who she is. He knows her reputation. May the Lord reward you, he says, for your deed. May you receive a rich reward. And she says, may I continue to find favor in your eyes? She's still not quite sure about the Lord part, right? She's still trying to figure out the Lord part. But she's asking him to take personal responsibility. In the meantime, he says to her, come over here and eat some of the bread and dip in a piece of vinegar. And she sits along with the harvesters, and they serve food. And she gets up to glean, and he goes one step further, above and beyond the ancient custom. He says to his young men, let her glean between. Don't humiliate her. Don't embarrass her if she takes stuff she shouldn't. But also pull some out of the bales for her and leave it behind. How grace-filled is this? Here she's trying to do all the right thing. She's not going to take more than she should. So he's going to find a way to kind of sneak it to her so that she can still feel like a good person doing the right thing, right? I love that grace. He says, don't scold her. So she gleans until evening. She ends up with a ton of barley. She takes it back to her mother-in-law. And her mother-in-law says, where were you working? And she tells her, it's Boaz. Wow. Naomi says, may he be blessed by the Lord, who hasn't abandoned his faithfulness with the living or with the dead. In other words, Boaz is staying connected to his family. He recognizes the need for his faithfulness to her now deceased husband through Ruth. She says he's one of our redeemers. So a redeemer, we have Jesus as our redeemer, right? So there's a good example. A redeemer is a big deal. It's a close relative who would have had this special obligation to help the family keep all of their property in their own name, or to reclaim their property. So she says, okay, this is our redeemer. Furthermore, Ruth tells her, he said to me, stay with my workers until they've finished. So she stays with these young women gleaning through the whole season. So that would have been April to June. So we're talking, it sounds in these stories sometimes like, oh, a day later, but it's been a while, right? They've gotten to know each other. And Naomi says to her, my daughter, shouldn't I seek security for you? So now Naomi's taking action. We've seen Ruth, we've seen her loyalty, we've seen what she's willing to do, and now we get to see Naomi starting to take action. Now isn't Boaz, whose young women you were with, are relatives? So tonight, she's going to give her, some weird directions, and we're going to talk about them a little bit. She says, tonight he'll be winnowing barley at the threshing floor, something that apparently the guys did. You should bathe, put on some perfume, wear nice clothes, and then go down to the threshing floor. Don't make yourself known to the man until he's finished eating and drinking. Let him be in a good mood, right? When he lies down, notice the place where he's lying, then go and uncover his feet, his genitals, and lie down, have sex, and he will tell you what to do. So because it reads that way, because feet and lie down are polite terms for genitals and sex, doesn't mean they actually had sex. We don't have to read it that way. It's not out of the question. But she puts herself in that position to do it, right? And this is at her mother-in-law's instruction. Okay, this sounds really weird to us. But her mother-in-law is trying to find a way to protect her. And she knows that Boaz is a good man. She's trying to find a way for Ruth to get connected to their Redeemer. So she takes over the caring part. And Ruth says, okay, I'll do everything you tell me. Again, faithful Ruth. So she goes down, she does everything that she says. She approaches him, she quietly lays down. In the middle of the night, he turns over and he's like, who are you? Right? Some woman's under his blanket. She says, I'm Ruth, your servant. Spread out your robe. Another translation for that in Hebrew is your wing. Right? Protect me. Spread out your robe over your servant because you are a redeemer. And he says, may you be blessed by the Lord, my daughter. You've acted even more faithfully than you did at first. You haven't gone after the rich or the poor young men. And now, my daughter, don't be afraid. I'll do everything you are asking. Indeed, my people who are all at the gate know that you are a woman of worth. This Moabite is a woman of worth. Now, it's certainly true I'm a redeemer, but there's another redeemer who's closer in line. He says, stay the night, and in the morning, if he'll redeem you, good, I'll let him. But if not, I will do it. So he has her stay through the night so that it will look like in the morning she's just gotten there to get food. So her reputation is not going to be tarnished, right? So she just came. Nobody else knows she's there. She just came in the morning. And it looks as if she just got there early for grain. So he gives her tons of grain, 6 measures of barley. And then she goes into town, and the mother-in-law says, okay, how are you? Imagine this question, right? I've just told you to go have sex with this guy, and I just want to know, you okay? Like, how'd it go? Did it work? Are you all right? But it's out of some real, honest care and concern. It's not just a gossipy kind of thing, right? So Ruth tells her everything, and she shows what he sent home for her mother-in-law. And Naomi says, sit tight until you know how it turns out. The man won't rest until he resolves the matter today. So picture somebody telling you, okay, you've just done this big thing, you've taken this big chance, now just wait. I'm really good at waiting. How about you? I'm waiting for the lightning. Patience is not my virtue, along with so many other things. So meanwhile, Boaz goes up to the gate and he sits down. This is where the business is conducted, right? This is where all the important men are sitting waiting. And he says, sir, come and sit down. And he took 10 men from the town's elders and he says, sit here, because he wants witnesses, right? So he says to the other guy, the other redeemer, Naomi, who's returned from the field of Moab, is selling the portion of the field that belonged to our brother Elimelech. I thought that I should let you know and say, buy it in the presence of those sitting here, in the presence of the elders. If you'll redeem it, redeem it. But if you won't redeem it, tell me so that I might know. There isn't anyone to redeem it except you and I'm next in line after you. So the guy is real quick. He's going to get some property. I'll redeem it. But wait, there's more. Then Boaz says, on the day when you buy the field from Naomi, you must also buy Ruth, the Moabite, the wife of the dead man, in order to preserve his name for his inheritance. Okay, the Redeemer's starting to get the warning sign. Okay, that means it's not my family's and my inheritance. It's got to go, right? And now I'm going to end up with this wife. So the Redeemer replies, then I can't. I can't redeem it for myself without risking damage to my own inheritance. He's not trying to be irresponsible. He's just really acknowledging the truth of his situation. I can't do it. Redeem it for yourself. You can have my right because I'm unable to act. And in Israel and former times, it was the practice regarding redemption to exchange, to confirm in such a manner, a man would take off his sandal. I have no idea why. I even tried to find out why. There's no real good explanation. Here, take my shoe, and we're just gonna call it done, right? So this process of making transactions is binding, and the Redeemer says, buy it for yourself, and he takes off his sandal. So Boaz announces, okay, you're all witnesses. Y'all saw it. I bought the land from Naomi and all that belongs, and also Ruth. I've bought to be my wife. to preserve the name of the dead man so that he doesn't get cut off from his brothers or from the gate of his hometown today. And you're my witnesses. Wow. This is cool stuff, right? And then all the people at the gate do this community blessing. And again, we see that they could have just said, are you kidding me, dude? She's a Moabite woman. You know, they believe in human sacrifice. What are you doing? But they don't. They say, we're witnesses. May the Lord grant that the woman who's coming into your household be like Rachel and Leah, both of whom built up the house of Israel. So they're wishing all of the promises of Abraham, right? All of this stuff on this Moabite woman. He says, may your household be like the household of Perez, whom Tamar bore to Judah, through the children that the Lord will give you from this young woman. And so he takes Ruth and she becomes his wife. And here's where we see God the second time. So first she gave food, right? It says he was intimate with her and the Lord let her become pregnant. And she gave birth to a son. She had been married for 10 years and had not had children. Picture the stigma attached to that, right? And so here she is. Talk about the Lord's timing, right? This is not a coincidence. And the women say to Naomi, again, the women could have been like, sister, back off, because you're tainted. You know, they don't. They say, may the Lord be blessed, who today hasn't left you without a redeemer. May his name be proclaimed in Israel. He'll restore your life and sustain you in your old age. Your daughter-in-law who loves you has given birth to him. And look at the next line. She's better for you than 7 sons. Right? In a society that's patriarchal. Naomi takes the child and she holds him and she becomes the guardian. And the neighborhood women give him a name. This was kind of an odd, this is not a tradition. This is an odd little sidebar thing, right? And they say the son has been born to Naomi. And they called him Obed. They're saying that because the son is literally the grandson, is her redeemer, right? He's restored her fully to her previous life. She's joy now again, right? She's not bitter anymore. And then it goes on to give you the generations. It says the generations of Perez. Perez becomes what? Look in Matthew, if you have your Bible with you, look in Matthew 1:5. And I want somebody to read that to me. This is the genealogy of Jesus Christ according to Matthew. Somebody read line 1:5. Yes, please, loud. One five. There you go. Boaz, the father of Obed, whose mother was Ruth. Did I put the wrong verse? It's 1:5 that Ruth is? It's there somewhere, right? So look at this. Matthew mentions certain women in the Bible, and Ruth is one of them, as part of Jesus' genealogy. A Moabite, human-sacrificing, foreign, immigrant, poor widow. What? What does that tell us about what God thinks about women? We matter. We matter. We matter. These are 2 women from 2 different personalities, 2 different nationalities, 2 different languages, 2 different religions at the beginning, 2 different generations. Everything is different about them. But they love each other. They nurture each other. They protect each other. They're creative together about how they're going to survive. So I want to leave you with this one little verse. It's 1 John 4:12. If we love one another, God lives in us, and his love is made complete in us. We lift each other up. We love each other. It doesn't matter about our differences. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. When we love, God's love is in us. Amen? I'm going to give you, look at that, I gave you 3 minutes. If you want to take a quick break, Pastor Wilma is going to come up, but do we want to take a quick break or we want to keep going? And you just take a break when you need to. All right, I hear you. Everybody's staying seated. Wilma, they're very excited to meet you. So Pastor Wilma and I Went to seminary together. As you know, Peyton and I went to seminary together too, so the whole gang. We were not as much trouble in seminary as you would have thought we might have been, but maybe a little bit. Wilma has had just such great life experience in her preaching life already. She has worked with Michael Beck. Some of you might know that name from Fresh Expressions. She's done just some incredible, amazing things. And I'm really honored to have graduated with her literally on the same stage the same day and to get to hear her speak today.
Well, good morning. What a joy to be here. It's awesome. So like Lisa said, my name is Wilma Reyes. Actually, my full name as a very good Latina woman is Wilma Ibelis Reyes Rodriguez. I am not going to quiz you on that. Just call me, you remember the Flintstones, and I'm good by that. So yes, right now I'm the pastor at Poinciana United Methodist Church, which has brought me here to South Florida from Central Florida, so I'm getting to know Florida pretty well. And thank you, Lisa, for just that whole background, so you get the whole story of Ruth. And I just want to read just a few verses here as we go along in this time of learning about Ruth and what Ruth really wants to show us today. So I want to read from chapter 1, just verses 15 through 18. So hear the word of the Lord. And she said, "See, your sister-in-law has gone back to her people and to her gods. Return after your sister-in-law." Oh, but Ruth said, "Do not urge me to leave you or return from following you. For where you go, I will go. And where you lodge, I will lodge. Your people shall be my people, and your God, my God. Where you die, I will die, and there I will be buried. May the Lord do to me as more also, if anything but death parts me from you." And when Naomi saw that she was determined to go with her, she said, "No more." And this is the word of God for the people of God. Thanks be to God. The story of Ruth and Naomi might have been the story of two immigrant women here in the United States. These women lived through a time when powerful men lost perspective of their place in relationship to God. Yeah, it was a time when male privilege and self-centeredness and arrogance precipitated the abuse of women as they were not considered important. Now, Naomi, as you heard, emigrated with her from her homeland. And like Lisa said, Bethlehem, city of bread, when that famine broke and made the city of bread a city of empty stomachs. Yeah, it was time to move to a place where there was at least something to eat. As mothers, as women, can you imagine the desperation? Trying to feed a family with almost nothing on hand and leaving everything behind to head on hand to a place only known by the 10 generations curse after that incestuous relationship between Lot and his daughters. Yeah, they were children from their own father, and one of them was named Moab. Not a place I like to raise my children at. So they live there. And the kids grow and marry Moabite women, but happiness does not last long, as you heard that the father of the family dies, only to be followed by the unexpected death of 2 childless sons, which for widows makes the worst case scenario in those times. Remember Jesus that raised the son of that widow? Oh, he was doing mercy by her. But not only were these women next to nothing, they were also immigrant women. And they didn't count for much, as in their survival pretty much depended on male relatives. You know, every time I read this story, my heart sinks. It just brings way too many memories of me and other women who I have encountered through the years, who have survived against all odds. Being a survivor of domestic abuse, I know all too well what being a single mother raising 2 kids feels like. I honestly believe that nowadays single mothers are the equivalent to widows in antiquity. We end up accepting the unfulfilled duties of the role of a man in the family. We survive times when ramen noodles are the only dinner we can put on the table. Not to count being taken advantage of by men whenever you try to get your car fixed and you have no idea what questions to ask or how much things cost. Not to mention the daily struggle with the men who only objectify you with their cat calls on your way to work. I can understand the difficulty of survival in a strange land as an immigrant woman. Now, I want to point that I didn't have to emigrate on foot and bus through many different countries with all the dangers found along the way, like so many women do today, to get to the border of the so-called land of plenty here in the United States. Nope. I had the privilege of being born on U.S. soil. I was born in Puerto Rico. So I wasn't just born here on the mainland. But I'm not white, just in desperate need of a tan. And when I open my mouth to speak, the accent just gives me away. And that is enough to endure the hurtful and sometimes dangerous whip of racism. As women, we were raised to survive in a world dominated by men who act pretty much like the times of the judges. You know, overseers in the fields doing what is right in their own eyes, abusing the power they have over women. But still, like Naomi, we survive. Oh yes, I can ask for stories here today and we would not end. But for every Naomi, I think there's always a Ruth, and thank God for that. There's always someone, perhaps a daughter-in-law, who clings to you, a woman who understands and lives what faithfulness and loyalty are, even when you do not know how things will work out in the end. And so goes the story of these 2 valiant women as they both journey back to Naomi's homeland and the house of bread, when the house of bread is once again filled with plenty. I understand very well kindness and loyalty to family. It runs through my Latina veins. It's what gets me going through the years I have lived far away from my family in Puerto Rico. So I understand how Ruth would say, where you go, I go, where you die, I die. Yes, we are people who exhibit great loyalty to family above and beyond the call of duty. You see, back in 2005, when I finally decided to run away from my abuser, my parents, God bless them, absorbed the full cost of moving with everything we had and my 2 kids all the way from Buffalo, New York to Orlando, Florida. And they not only did that, but used their retirement investments to purchase a home when me and my children could live. Can you imagine? I know I will never be able to repay them. But just imagine. At that time in my life, I needed to see the hand of God directing us, and this was truly an unexpected miracle for us. My parents, example of loving kindness made me understand in a deeper way God's loving kindness toward us. And the text in Ruth talks about that same type of deep and costly faithfulness we receive, not only from God, but from unlikely friendships and relationships with people of different backgrounds and ethnicities. Just looking at Naomi and Ruth, an Israelite and a Moabite, we know it makes for a very weird relationship. The one that all eyes stare as you see them walking by. You see, back in the book of Deuteronomy 23:3, we have the background of this relationship between Israelites and Moabites. As it says, no Ammonite or Moabite shall be admitted to the assembly of the Lord, even to the 10th generation. None of their descendants shall be admitted to the assembly of the Lord. Just in case you didn't hear it the first time, he first again. You see, this type of ethnic disqualification vengefully separated these two groups. So kindness, although being a good and desirable thing, when it was meant to be directed to Moabites, was just beyond the pale for Israel. With this in mind, the fact that Ruth was a Moabite makes one rethink the whole story. The relationship formed between Ruth and Naomi was uneasy. However, the ties that bound them over time made them grow closer together. When the time came for the immigrant-migrant dynamic to be switched, that deep loyalty and costly faithfulness gave them the strength to overcome every single hurdle, even when there was no expectation of loyalty to hold them together. According to rabbinic tradition, the main theme in the book of Ruth is precisely this type of relationship. And the term for it in the Hebrew is chesed. This term is interpreted as loving kindness, loyalty, or faithfulness. However, no matter the interpretation you choose, it always arises from commitment. Yes, God's chesed, God's loving kindness and faithfulness arises from God's commitment to us. And in this story, Naomi manifests this kindness in her concern for the well-being of her widowed daughters-in-law. She knew that if they were to come to Israel with her, things were not going to be easy for them, to say the least. As a matter of fact, it could be very dangerous, as you heard. They could be assaulted anywhere they went or in the fields. And that is why when Naomi decided to send them back home, she was acting out of mercy, out of compassion. She was acting out of chesed for them. But Ruth, she was attached to Naomi. Somehow, she knew that joining weakness to weakness, death to death, they would make it, even as a foreigner in a strange and inhospitable land. When you experience yourself the quote-unquote other in another culture or from another culture, you don't know exactly what to expect, right? At first, you find yourself, for me, my part, apprehensive, or for you, wherever you go or whenever you find them. You just don't feel like you fit. And when you get the look, you know that look I'm talking about? The look, you're reminded that you are from a despised people. I know very well what that feels like. But for the life of me, I cannot imagine choosing that existence out of loyalty or kindness to an old woman who has nothing for me and expects nothing from me. I wonder if Ruth pledged loyalty to Naomi's God after hearing that the God of Israel had this special chesed, this loving kindness towards the weak and underprotected. Maybe all the time she spent with Naomi by Naomi's side was enough to know that the God of Israel is loyal to those who cannot take responsibility over themselves. And just maybe she heard Naomi one day singing Psalms 146, saying, "Praise the Lord, O my soul. The Lord opens the eyes of the blind. The Lord lifts up those who are bowed down. The Lord loves the righteous. The Lord watches over the strangers. And he upholds the orphan and the widow. Praise the Lord." I want to believe that it was the extent of this shared loving kindness and loyalty that led Ruth down the path that required her to fundamentally change her identity. But whatever the motivation, whatever strangely warmed her heart to make these life-changing decisions, it led this stranger to find hope on the journey towards Bethlehem. And let me tell you, God's loving kindness prepared them a bounty as they arrived to the house of bread once again. Not only this outsider and non-believer was received and welcomed, but she became the redeemer. You know, Boaz redeemed her. Yeah, I know that. But she became the redeemer of God's inheritance upon Naomi's family. She found a husband and then had a child who would later become the grandfather of King David. Yes, a stranger, an outcast, a widow, became part of the lineage of our Lord Jesus Christ. I realized that relating to the stranger, to someone of a different culture or another skin color, who speaks a different language and has different customs, can be nerve-wracking. I can understand why we would rather cut our losses and keep away from them. However, at times, even us as believers decide to follow after the narratives that demonize the other, rather than giving the opportunity for them to perhaps teach us something about chesed, about that loving kindness that God wants us to really live by. As followers of Jesus Christ, we're called to show this kindness even to the Moabites in our midst, particularly the women who in their own cultures are just not valued. Now, for what purpose are we to do this? Well, no less than to bring God's ultimate gift to fruition, the gift of love. And I'm not talking about any ordinary mushy, kissy love. No. I am talking, about a different kind of love. Jesus himself said that the law and the prophets is surmised in this statement. And you shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind, and with all your strength. And, let's not forget that other and you shall love your neighbor as yourself. This is the love that this world so desperately needs. This loving kindness, this deep loyalty and costly faithfulness is what God says is our identifying trait as believers. It is through living out this chesed, this loving kindness, that we become, listen to this, we become through this loving kindness the agents of God's redemptive activity in the world, just by developing relationships and loyalty bonds with the immigrants, with the poor, with the homeless, with the downtrodden, with the victim of human trafficking, with the ones who speak another language, with the ones that our culture demonizes. So how far does our kindness, our loyalty to the other, and our love extend? Well, it needs to extend until even the lion and the lamb can live together. Until even the Israelite and the Moabite can live as one flesh in mutual loyalty. Until the love of God comes to us and we can definitely live up to the words that we can love our Lord God with all our hearts, with all our souls, all our minds, and all our strength. Until we can love our neighbors as ourselves. Let us pray. Oh, Lord God, we live in difficult times. We live in times when your church is being called to open their eyes. We need to open their eyes to everything that's going around us, Lord. Lord, in this politically divided climate that the church is in right now, help us, Lord, to live by the politics of the kingdom of God. Help us to live by that love that you have shed upon us so we can show our neighbors your love through acts of kindness, of mercy, to bring hope to those who have lost all hope. So we can also, Lord, lift up our voices against those who speak and demonize the other. Let us live that way, Lord. Let us live that way so that your love can be seen actively in everything we do as your children, as your daughters today. Oh, help us, Lord. We need you today more than ever. It is in the name of Jesus that we pray these things. Amen. Amen.
Alrighty then, start moving toward your seats. We're gonna stay on track. Yay! This way we get longer to visit over lunch, or play with our craft, which is next. So most of you know the lovely Amy Vigil. She is on the bottom of the list of her credentials. She's Pastor Rafe's wife. There's a whole bunch of credentials that come before that. And she's just amazing and wonderful. And she's going to share with us a little bit about healthy living. Part of this, we wanted to make sure to, love each other, love God, and love ourselves. And so that's Amy's piece of this, is to show us how to love ourselves. So Amy, yay.
Well, I thank you for having me back. I'm honored to be back here. If you were here last year, you know that public speaking is not my thing. It makes me very anxious, and as a matter of fact, when Lisa asked me again, I was like, really, no, I can't do this again. But as I talk about and as I live out the importance of exercise, I realize that this is my time to practice and exercise this part of me that is uncomfortable. And so I'm trying to get more comfortable at speaking and sharing, something that I'm very passionate about. I'm great at sharing one-on-one. I'm just not really good at sharing in a group. So I'm going to try to do my best again to keep it slow and to, get my message across to you. So thank you for bearing with me. And as Lisa said, if you don't know me, I'm Amy Vigil, and Pastor Rafe is my husband. But I'm also a nurse by profession. I've been an RN for a little more than 25 years, just recently got my BSN. But my passion is healthy living the natural way, which is kind of ironic because Rafe likes to joke that I push drugs for a living. I work in non-chemo infusion, but my true passion is trying to find ways to live healthy, as natural and as we can. So with that speaking, I actually want to start with, I have a 5-minute video. I'm very thankful for Janice, who started us moving this morning, was perfect. But we're going to do a 5-minute yoga video. It is in your chair. It's nothing strenuous. But I just want to give you, we're going to talk a little bit about yoga again. I know we talked about it last year, but to me, yoga is one of the most important things that you can do for your mental, physical, emotional health. So I'm just going to ask you to kind of pull your chair out just so you have some space to move, but you don't have to get out of your chair. And like I said, it's not going to be strenuous. It's a very quick 5-minute yoga that J.E.'s going to play.
Inhale, reach your arms up, switching sides. Exhale, twist to the right. Place your left hand on your right knee, and with your right hand, hold on to your chair. Again, keep grounding through your feet and sitting bones, and the hip bones are facing the front. Gently look over the right shoulder. Take a few deep breaths. Twists are great to keep mobility in the spine and to gently massage our internal organs. Inhale, come back to center, reach your arms up, and as we exhale, start folding forward from the hips. Drop your head down. With your hands, hold on to your lower legs, ankles, feet, or place your hands on the floor. Take a few deep breaths and relax your neck. Take one last deep breath in this forward fold. And then place your hands on your legs. Walk yourself all the way up so you're sitting up tall. Relax your shoulders away from the ears, and let's close our chair yoga flow together. Inhale, reach your arms up towards the sky. Exhale, join your hands together, draw your hands down in prayer position in front of your heart. Thank you so much for practicing with me. And may this yoga practice be a blessing to you. Namaste.
So even though it's only 5 minutes, I want you to just take a second and just notice if you feel any different, if you feel more relaxed, if you feel more centered, if, and just be aware of that. Yoga is just one of those things that is extremely important to so many aspects of our life. It helps with blood flow, makes you more flexible. It truly can ease arthritis, back pain. That's how I started with yoga, is because I had some stenosis in my back and everything was painful. And so someone had suggested this to me and I thought there's no way. And 3 years later, it's part of my daily routine and it's truly, just transformed my life. But it also helps with heart health, relaxation, better sleep, better moods. It helps you manage stress. It helps give you more energy. And yoga is just one of those things that can be a chair yoga. It can be something more vigorous, even to the point where they have HIIT yoga. It can be very strenuous in the yoga. So I encourage you, if that's something that you liked, that you reach out, to look out there, and there's Amazon Prime or videos, there's all kinds of yoga if you look out there in the social media world. And so that's my number one thing with health. But the other thing is, in the last year, my son actually has gotten me onto a couple of podcasts and books. So for my birthday last year, which I'm not sure that if he was telling me I was old and I needed to change, but he got me the book Lifespan, Why We Age and Why We Don't Have to. And it's by David Sinclair, who's a PhD, he's a geneticist, and doing research on longevity and life. And so I've been reading and studying and listening to podcasts about this. And so some of the things that I've taken away, there's just a plethora of information and new research that's out there. And if you hear anything that sparks your interest or thinks that you might, I encourage you to research it further, because there's so much more than, I'm going to just hit on a couple of topics that are easy to do. He talks about much greater detail, much more science, and it's actually very exciting to know what's coming in the future that will help us all not only live longer, but live better longer without the aches and pains and the things that we just take for granted with aging, and we don't have to. And so from David Sinclair, two of the things that he say, the most important things are exercise and intermittent fasting, or eating less, going longer periods of time without eating. And so exercise and the being hungry trigger something in our bodies, adversity. And what's happened in our culture over the years is we become very comfortable, very sedentary, and very satiated. We don't get hungry anymore, we don't get cold, we don't have a lot of stress in our body. Back in the caveman days when we were running from things, always looking for food, our bodies were under stress. And that stress triggers a longevity gene, which causes us to live longer, healthier lives. So it's very interesting, and like I said, this is like really new research that they've done, and they've been studying these genes to find out what turns on and off these genes and helps us live longer. So the exercise is not even very much exercise. It's literally 10 to 15 minutes of just losing your breath for 3 to 5 times a week. That could be a strenuous walk, it could be a yoga session, it could be running 1 mile. But it's not very much. But it's just enough to give your body a little taste of that stress that says, hey, I need to fight back. I need to do something that's going to change those longevity, what they call longevity genes. And then with fasting, intermittent fasting is the same thing. To go longer periods of time without food in our bellies. Again, it tells our body, being hungry, I need to start repairing and regenerating things for times that may not be there might not be food. And so Caleb, my youngest son, who gave me this book, actually started that. I am a huge breakfast person and never in my life thought that I would skip breakfast. I mean, I just thought there's no way I can do it. I can't go that long to do it. But 3 months later, Rafe, myself, and my son, we all intermittent fast. We stop eating at 9 o'clock at night, and then we just skip breakfast and then eat lunch. And you will feel hungry for a little while, and it does take some getting used to, but you have to, the one thing that when we were doing it, we told ourselves is that hunger is helping your body heal. It's helping you. It's also a time to draw on God, because sometimes you need that strength to get through that when you're hungry. I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought, but that's okay. But so anyway, so it's just, there are small things to do, and they're not for everyone, and not everyone's going to do it, and that's okay. I'm just kind of throwing out a couple ideas for something for you to think about, new ways that we can be healthy to do that. In those podcasts, so I started listening to podcasts on my run in the morning, and so I've been trying to find more and more, and Rafe will tell you it's more and more dangerous for me to learn and read more. He tells me to stop reading, to stop listening, because I usually make him try these things with me. But I was listening to one podcast who mentioned another doctor, who's Dr. William Lee, who's an internal medicine doctor and a researcher, and he wrote a book called Eat to Beat Disease. And the reason that this one caught my attention is because he's doing new research on cancer and immunotherapy, which immunotherapy is our new drugs that are treating cancer. And my mother has stage 4 colon cancer and will probably be dealing with that for the rest of her life. And she takes immunotherapy. So when I heard this, it just sparked an interest in me. And so I read his book and have been listening to him. And there is another plethora of information here as well. But I was able to recently, in the last 3 weeks, go visit my mother, go visit with her doctor and her treatment center, and talk with her doctor about this book and about a lot of the things that they're suggesting. And so I'm just going to give you a couple of things. Like for her, one of the big ones that struck me is walnuts. And I put walnuts as our snack for this purpose. But walnuts I've always just thought they were like omega-3, heart healthy. You know, they tell you to eat it for your heart. But they actually have a bioactive ingredient in them that helps prevent colon cancer and treat colon cancer, prevents you from reoccurring. So walnuts have this amazing effect to work with immunotherapy drugs, the way that they work to help prevent cancer. And it's literally, to work with immunotherapy, it's 4 walnuts a day, which is nothing. So to prevent colon cancer is a little more, it's 11 walnuts a day. So it's a few more. It's still not that many, I mean, when you think about it. But that's a big one, so that we added to my mom. So there was, the other things they added for my mom, for colon cancer, is green tea, coffee, and soy products. Surprising of all things. And the coffee and the green tea turn on cancer tumor suppression genes that help the colon cancer from developing in the first place and from redividing. I know. Coffee. I know, everyone's got the coffee. Yes. I know, it's good to know that something that we already do is good for us, right? Yeah. So those are some things, and her doctor was 100% for everything that we did, and she actually took the name of the book and was going to read it and use it for her patients. So in saying that, there is so much research out there right now, and evidently just in the last 10 years they have new laboratory equipment that can study these genes, which are producing a lot of this new research recently. So if you're at all interested in it, I recommend these two books. They're phenomenal. If you're a science person, David Sinclair is great at explaining science in a way that's understandable. And then the last one that Caleb got me hooked on is sleep. And a lack of sleep is a major factor in cancer, heart disease, depression, dementia, stroke. I mean, the list like goes on. And sleep is also probably like, they say 2/3 of the population doesn't get enough good quality sleep. And I'll tell you, I am one. I can fall asleep faster than anyone in the world. Can I stay asleep? No. And I wake up several times a night. And so this one really intrigued me. And I haven't found a cure for it yet. I'm still working on it. It's a really tough one. But sleep helps us heal, recover from illness, deal with stress, solve problems. It turns on genes that metabolize fat, prevent obesity. And not getting enough sleep actually has the ability, again, those genes, it can turn on and off genes that cause tumors and cancers. So the author for that one is actually Matthew Walker. He's a neuroscientist and wrote a book on sleep. There's a lot of podcasts on sleep from that. He gave some good tips that I'm trying. You can ask me later if they work, because this is like a new area for me. But some tips that he said, this is a good one. He said, keep a worry journal, and 1 hour before bed, write down all your worries and concerns that you're facing, and end with 3 good things that happened or that you're grateful for. So that you leave them all in that book and you don't take them to bed with you, and and our minds kind of take those over. Deep breathing and meditation, which I was so tickled that someone shared with me today, because last year I talked about the importance of just deep breathing, and if you can't sleep, that helps you go back to sleep, and she shared that she's working on that, and so that's another big one. I'm working on sleep meditation, and so there's a lot of apps that have a guided meditation that kind of walk you through and help you settle your mind and your body. And so I've been trying that one as well, and I will again let you know. I haven't done it long enough to really give you my opinions, but it definitely helps you fall asleep. Go to bed and get up at the same time each day. You can't make up sleep, and this is a big one. Like if you do an all-nighter, there's no way to ever get those 8 hours of sleep back. They're just gone. And so routine, and it's funny, because I've preached this to my kids forever, and when they went through college and their early young adult years, they're always tired and exhausted and just miserable, and right? Yep. So, and I always said to them, it's because you don't have a routine. You have to have some sort of routine where your body knows when to get up and when to go to bed. And my son that I preached that the most to is the one who told me about this author, Michael. So ironically, Matthew Walker. Make sure your sleeping room is dark. Make sure it's cool. Avoid caffeine and alcohol 12 hours before bed. 12 hours, they said. So interesting fact with alcohol, because a lot of people drink alcohol to relax them to go to sleep. But alcohol relaxes you, but it's like sedation. And it actually limits or reduces your REM sleep. So like your good quality sleep. So you might sleep, but you'll still wake up feeling tired. So, and then the last one, I find this one interesting. So he said, don't lie in bed awake. If you can't go to sleep, get up and go to another room. And again, it's training your body that the bed and the bedroom is for sleep. And if you read and watch TV and you're awake, your body will tend to be, think that it's time to be awake. So those were some, I thought those were some good little tips on sleep. And how it affects us. So I know these are just a few little things. I hope that they help you. And I have a scripture that I just wanted to close with. It's 1 Corinthians 6:19 through 20. It says, do you not know that your bodies are temples of the Holy Spirit, who is in you, whom you have received from God? You are not your own. You were bought at a price. honor God with your bodies. And so health is about how we feel, but also to honor God so that we can continue to share the gospel and the love that we talked about earlier with other people. When we're healthy and we feel good, we can share that love so much better than if we're miserable and uncomfortable all the time. So, thank you.